Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode this week here on Dojo Live, May 9th, 2023. My name is Kim Lantis, and it's my pleasure to be co-hosting along with America Guerrero today.
Hi, everybody. Hello, Rakesh.
Yes,
Hey, America. Hey,
Rakesh.
Kim.
Hello, Rakesh Yadav, who is the founder of Aidaptive. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rakesh, out of the Bay Area. How's the weather?
Oh, weather is always great. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. I'm glad to hear it. Today we're here to talk about, surprise, surprise, AI, that big buzzword. It's everywhere these days, but in conjunction with machine learning and how that applies to e-commerce. But before we dive into the topic, we'd love to kind of get to know you a bit better. Rakesh, what's your story? What's your passion? And what's led up to your time founding Aidaptive?
Yeah, broadly, thanks a lot, by the way, Kim and America, for organizing this and hosting me.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
And my story is just a typical immigrant story. Did undergrad in India, grew up in India, then my master's, then joined Google, first job, stayed there 14 years. Probably too long, but uh, uh, it was needed to build up the skill sets and build up the network.
Yeah,
Like
as
I
far as
think,
first jobs go, you could do a lot worse, I think.
yeah, I got lucky. I got lucky like that. So uh, I didn't go to Ivy Leagues either. So I went to like LSU, Louisiana, of all places, and yeah, I was too poor to pay for money, so Louisiana gave me full funding. That's how I picked. Those were
Nice.
the
I love
reasons.
it.
Yeah, random butterfly effects. Uh, and then after that, within Google, after a few years, I started picking 0 to 1 projects. So and then my name started getting called for anything when we wanted to get them off the ground. So I was textbook definition of intrapreneur. While I was waiting for a green card, that was the main reason I had to stay longer. Uh, I ended up building a lot of 0 to 1 projects, and my batting average has been in 14 years. I think 14 projects, 8 of them reached billion plus ARR. 7 of them I killed between 6 to 9 months. And
Wow.
yeah, and then last few projects was in Google Ads. We built out, we founded and led a team which built out the end-to-end machine learning platform, which the main premise was in Google Ads for an idea to reach production, which is in front of customers or consumers, it would take 6 to 9 months. I personally wanted to reduce it to like less than a day, which was probably too ambitious. But by the time I left 2 years ago, March, uh, many teams were able to get their idea in production in like 3 to 4 days, which was a big improvement.
Wow, that's fantastic. Going from 6 to 9 months to 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, that was great, especially because 2020 and 20 like COVID hit, right? So everything needed to adapt faster. So this kind of velocity helped increase the innovation to a bigger extent. And as you can imagine, like a lot of Google products, like especially ads products, benefited out of that.
For sure.
And then the premise was after, if at Google there is a need for such a platform, what are the rest of the people in the world doing who can't attract, who don't have these many resources in terms of human talent as well as machine. So that's where I quit. Thankfully, bunch of us who have been working with me for like 6 plus years also quit. Uh, and bunch of Google leadership, along with all my Bay Area and broader network, also invested. And we were able to uh, set up this company, and it's been 2 years. And yeah, we currently are focused on e-commerce vertical and vacation rental vertical. But in the background, we are really building out end-to-end ML platform, so that way it's very easy for people to leverage machine learning capabilities, so that they don't have to hire like Google engineers or Amazon engineers.
I love it. I love it. So let's dive into that with Aidaptive, your end-to-end capabilities, machine learning, e-commerce. What exactly is the solution that you're providing? What's the problem you're solving?
So for rest of the companies who don't have the talent pool or also the resources like money to pay for the compute, uh, what we are providing is intelligent products. So basically, we help them build out their own Amazon, so that way they can control their own destiny. So there are multiple intelligent products ranging from recommendations, which are highly personalized for every user, to personalized search, which is again highly personalized, so that if 3 of us search for shirts on an apparel site, The machine learning will understand that America loves color red, I love color black and white, and yeah, pink for you, and that way it will be very highly personalized even for the same search results. But all of these are focused to drive up revenue. At the end of the day, if we don't increase the revenue, there is no point
Of
for
course.
using leveraging machine learning.
Yeah. All right. And I think that's a great dive into the question that we're asking today, or asking and hoping to answer, right?
Yes, the topic is AI and machine learning for e-commerce. How can direct-to-consumer e-commerce retailers take advantage of AI and machine learning technologies to scale their businesses in 2023? So please share with us the answer.
Yeah, at the end of the day, machine learning can, at the end of the day, all the consumers directly should be seeing whatever they want. So, according to their interest, according to their current context. So, for example, by context, I mean if I'm traveling on a business, if I'm looking for business attire, I'm looking for something else other than like when I'm looking for my whole family, like a costume for Halloween. So the context is also important even for the same person. So at the end of the day, there is insane amount of value to be had by using machine learning for all the pieces of the site. Ideally, even the organization of the site, like it should be tailor made for every customer. So let's say someone has like, you know, 1 million customer, it should be 1 million version of that site for each of those customers, ideally. So uh, basically pick anything and everything on the site, ranging from search recommendations to reviews to which reviews to show. Like if I'm looking for, if I'm love traveling like hiking in the mountains, I would prefer trekking shoes. And let's say someone who wants beach wear will prefer beach sandals. So even all of those contexts are very critical. And then the reviews should also like things like reviews should also extract that information which is relevant to me, rather than the entire like everybody seeing the same site. At the end of the day, basically want them to have their own Amazon.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. And when you talk about them, who is them and your target client in these e-commerce retailers? Is it anyone and everyone from this little startup, making things out of their garage, or are you going after like the bigger companies in between? What's your
Yeah.
end all?
So everybody who's selling directly online, not like through Amazon and channels, so that way they want to build up their own brand. Because at the end of the day, in Amazon, if you're selling on Amazon, some in the early days that is needed for every seller. But everybody who's selling and doing like more than 1-2 million yearly GMV, partly because below that the machine learning is not useful, because we don't have enough data to personalize, and also we don't do cross network like cross customers data sharing either. So someone who is selling online wants to create their own brand, wants to grow very quickly by leveraging machine learning, ideally over 1-2 million GMV, so that it has enough purchases. uh, the more SKUs, the better. If someone is selling only one, like less than 10 products, there's not much personalization that is needed. Uh, uh, and then ideally, we don't have the brand presence to move like to handle like the bigger customers who do more than like 500 million to 1 billion. But over time, we want to get into that market. So currently, I think our biggest customer makes like 200 million yearly GMV.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, it all is very scalable. So we can plug things in very
That's
easily.
really interesting. And this is an experience that's limited to their person, like their company websites where they're doing their selling, or is this also an element of personalization that's going to come up in ads and everywhere else that's going to give me visibility?
Yes, just for ease of integration and being able to launch customers very fast, we have built out products. But at the end of the day, all of these products are using some foundational machine learning models, like taste models based on color, based on preferences, then context based, like events, like which products after looking at these three products, people purchase this one. Geo profiles, like someone from New Mexico, Mexico, and Bay Area might have like different tastes based on the weather, uh, purchasing power of every user. So we built out all of these. then we can actually use it for other things. Like for example, on Google Ads, one of my customers, they asked us for this purchasing like a lifetime value of a customer data. So we categorize them into high, mid, low, and the high LTV folks who are coming on the site, he wants to not show them ads because they are already loyal customers. So that way they want to save ads. So there are a lot of innovative things that can be done because of these foundational models.
And I think what you're talking about with the ad work is a really interesting element of personalization that, to be honest, I don't think I've ever heard of before. And it makes a lot of sense, because if you know that this person is loyal, you wouldn't want to be heckling and like, let me have this amazing experience. So let's talk to this how important is personalization in e-commerce in general to drive this increase in revenue that everyone's hoping for?
Yeah, so I think in the current market we have seen not many people have been able to. A lot of our customers have been able to generate like 20% lift even through like just recommendation and search, sometimes even higher. Of course, for somebody who has been using machine learning already for the different pieces, the lift might not be that much. But more than just the revenue lift, there is something to be said about being adaptable to changing market conditions. For example, everything was looking good, but then COVID hit. So how does the inventory change? And then do we really still want to show the same product recommendations? How quickly can rules-based or human-based analyst can adapt? Because we train our models and change things daily, weekly. In Google, we used to do every 15 minutes, honestly, just that we don't have enough data here. So we can really do as often as possible. So the changing market dynamics is a very important cutting edge thing that is needed in this current scenario that we are going for.
What is unique at Adaptive? Because I have seen that tons of companies are selling that they are utilizing AI and machine learning. So that is not longer like new, or is
Yeah,
it new, or what could you share?
yeah. So I mean, AI is not new. It's been like for 50, 80 years. First time the neural nets were coined. The the main thing that is really new is the we have built out a system where we can pick the right model for a right business person, and we make that decision on a daily basis. So, and then over time, we'll keep adding to this pool of like currently, I think we have like 20, 30 models. But over time, we'll just keep adding more and more these techniques. But all of that complexity is really hidden from our customers. So that way, they don't have to understand, oh, ChatGPT is a new technology. Should we use it? Should we not? In the background, if it is useful, we'll just use it. And then we we put a layer on top of experiments. So we try out, with smaller traffic, each of these models and let the winner survive. And then that takes over the whole traffic. And we make this decision on a daily basis. So something like this level of adaptability and then having end-to-end package system. So that way system can adapt and heal. While many people talk about just different models and not many others, for example, machine learning engineers are not able to run something in production. And then production folks, like infrastructure folks, don't understand enough machine learning. But the unique part over here is everything is in a well-contained, simple package. So much so that a lot of us, all of these have APIs, but they also have a widget. So you can just embed a widget and forget about APIs or anything else and just move on.
I think that's actually really fascinating. And when it comes to quantity, I mean, I understand your ideal customer and the number of SKUs, offerings, etc. But when it comes to machine learning and data, like you mentioned, Google being able to do in 15 minutes because the numbers are there, what maybe it'll take you can't do for a day or something. But like, is there ever too much? Is there ever going to be a limit to what machine learning AI is capable of? Like, when is enough enough? Is like,
Yeah. So same types of data, after a certain point, the models learn. So on those fronts, there is enough. Beyond a certain point, if it's the same image of same red shirt, there's only so much you can train. That said, for different variety, that is never enough just because the world is changing on a daily basis. So like whatever we have trained, like, on like, let's say, last year's data, but this year is completely different. So this year data needs to be fed in. Then of course the 2020 year was very interesting for everybody. So whatever was trained beyond that will not work in 2020. So everything needs to be retrained. That's why this crazy focus on like continuous learning. Like humans, we want our models to be like humans, like continuously learning, continuously adapting.
That actually makes a lot of sense. And I think in terms of trend is with e-commerce, I think this makes a lot of sense for individual companies, right? Like these are my products, these are the products that I'm selling. But how would a technology like yours or similar to yours is there the potential for abuse in places like Amazon where there's so many different retailers, so many different individuals? Facebook came in the news, when it comes to just elections and like influencing people and whatever. Is this also happening in the e-commerce space?
Yeah, so one of the main reasons why we don't share customer data across the board is for that reason. So that way the machines really are only trained for our one seller's data and nothing else. So that way it's like very same as basically it's their IP and it stays with them.
Okay.
So we don't learn anything like cross-cutting like Amazon or whatever Facebook has done. Second piece on the e-com side, this is the other reason why I didn't pick healthcare or fintech as a vertical, just because of like in the early days in a startup life, right? Like there's a lot of failures. So just in case I didn't want to have any failure on the healthcare world assigned to me. So that was the other reason why we really wanted to do. Like if I gave you a bad recommendation on a site, it's probably fine.
Lower risk when you're buying a
risk.
pair of shoes than when you're choosing a defibrillator or something. Or did I even say that word right? I don't even know.
Yep. Yeah. Like one reason, one big hospital owner who has a chain of hospitals in India is talking to me about putting our image model in there. But even in that scenario, we are going to keep the doctors in the loop. So that way the final decision is in doctor, just that machines will give the hint. Just that there'll be like a pool instead of like main primary surgeon, it can go to like first year residency when we are like really, really confident. Still, we are not making full ML based decisions on those critical scenarios, especially because of that edge cases where it goes haywire, because it is all probabilistic. So you really, it's not like pure math, right? So it's really not 100% accurate because it's not one equation.
You're referring to healthcare, right? Not hospitality.
No, healthcare. Hospitality, we already.
And I think it makes sense. It's something
I meant hospitals. Yeah,
hospitals.
Sorry for mispronouncing.
And it makes sense. I mean, it's something that we hear often, and I agree with. Right, when it comes to artificial intelligence, the end goal is to help us do what we do better and best. Right, and so in that particular instance, empowering the doctors or the physicians to make better decisions, maybe investigate a path they might not have otherwise investigated. But ultimately, the decision I think is right, but it's a human thing. And I think there's elements of just emotion and I don't know, like it sounds so silly maybe, but there's so much to be said of like this gut feeling that we as people have that a machine I don't think can replicate.
Yeah, definitely. On some of those, that's where the experts are, right? Like that's where the 1% are. So the surgeon that I'm talking about, he's just barely from 7 a.m. to like 10 p.m. He just does surgeries. And in between, he finds time to look at these CAT scans to decide that, this needs surgery or not, right? So barely, I think most likely he eats like once a day, things like those, like 2 coffees.
Maybe he is a machine.
Yeah, he is definitely a machine. But the longer the amount of hours he works, he saves lives directly. So it's directly proportional to like having an impact. So that's why I can't blame him either. I mean, more power to him, whatever he can do. But if we can save these, back office work, so that he can focus on like there's no physical care and which focuses on intuition, as you were saying. Those are where he's truly leveraged, not like looking at like paperwork where 90% of the work is,
For sure.
automated.
So let's take this back to you, Rakesh, and your learnings as an individual, as a founder, as an entrepreneur. You mentioned, reasons behind why you specifically chose e-commerce versus, other verticals. What other advice might you give to people like you who are looking to get into the startups to try something new? What has worked for you, and maybe what didn't that you would counsel others not to do?
Yeah, so I think of life in like 15-year intervals. So I'm a very weird person, probably too patient as well. Uh, so, for example, first 15 years I built up my skill sets, my network. So that way, while I mean, money-wise, I'm probably doing fine by most standards, uh, but my main power, the main things that I've built up is investment in myself, my team, my broader network. Then we convert them into these 15 years and convert them into money once you've built up all of that skills. And during this time frame, while I love to do healthcare, like again, I'm very focused to money creation a lot more, so that way we can have access. I can have access to capital. And then the third phase is where I will really take my own capital and double down on healthcare, energy, and these things. And that's the 15 years. For someone that's very broad, but for someone who's just starting a startup in this harsh market, I would say no matter what, just focusing. It's very cliche, but focusing on customer. I go even to the crazy level that I sell first and then build. So one of our early customers, I actually went and sat with them for 2 days and then whiteboarded it and then said, is this important problem for you? Basically, what are your problems? And then I whiteboarded it. Oh, this we can build, this I can build, this I can build. And if we build something like this, would you like it? And they're like, sounds good. And some you do need some early adopters in the early phases, of course. So some customers were actually willing to pay cost while we build up. So they started the subscription even while build up phase, and thankfully we were able to get something going in 2 weeks as well. So and that's kudos to my team.
How do you
So
keep
yeah.
sorry,
No,
I'm
no, please go
curious.
ahead.
You said that you're patient. How do you keep that balance between patient
And
and
impatience.
being ambitious and also bring quick solutions to your consumers? How do you
Yep.
do that?
Yeah. It's very weird. So you have to zoom in, zoom out very quickly on the time scale. So on the zoom in side, which is like on a weekly basis, I'm very impatient. So day and night. But on the broader goals, like thinking about like 15 years, I'm very patient. So as the sayings go, right, like most people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And that's pretty much very true. Like if you have line of sight, uh, that's it. The 10, 15 year goals, you don't think about it every day, right? Like it's like once a quarter, once a year kind of thing. You just write it down, 10-year plan and move on.
You take every
So
now and then you take a step back and
step
say,
back.
okay, where am I? Have I progressed? Have I not? What can I do
Yep.
differently?
And that's the part of the actually that's piece of my Google training as well. One is like focus on people, so keep like have awesome people because my job is to take care of people who actually take care of customers. But second is uh, process is like OKRs, like quarterly OKRs. Like from day one, we wrote quarterly OKRs, even if it was like to come up with a product plan. Just write it down and then rate it, and then we have a weekly snippet where we write everything. Like everybody writes whatever they worked on this week. Just for because of this remote setting, we have to like over communicate. Also, it is optional, but we do that. Then other advices that I will give for founder is ideally find the right investor and be like I think most founders will know this. Like be like we are very okay to hear no. So like after 99 no's, you hear one yes. Same with customers, same with investors, and that's very fine. So if investors said no, don't get bummed out. Keep going. That said, please look for critical feedback. I think a lot many investors don't really they try to be nice. So unless you have a term sheet, it's a no. That's one thing which I also say. And then ask them like, hey, what is taking you long to decide longer? And they will actually give very good feedback because they have like broad view of like the entire industry, especially in the early stages.
I think that's an interesting question, and maybe most of us don't have the tendency to go that far, right? Like you can learn to be okay with a no, but then what comes next is that a no is okay, but can you tell me why not?
Yep.
And I think that's the why not is the piece that most of us, many of us fail to ask.
Yeah, like my early deck, the deck I wrote in first week after leaving Google, what says like every month, if you snapshot it, like, they are all completely changed. Uh, so nobody knows what you're gonna build. So listen to customers, build, and listen for feedback and keep adapting.
That's awesome. Do you find that working in this routine of like OKRs and having something constant is helpful for you? And if so, my question also is, how do you keep it fresh? Because I think a lot of times with like this types of repetitive brainstorming and group sessions, like it can start to feel like, I got to fill out my OKR because I have to fill out my OKR. Like, what have you found that works for you and your team to actually make it matter?
Yeah, so depends on different phases. First phase when we were like a 5 person or less company, we all just wrote, sat down together and wrote OKR in one page. Then currently we are like, and it was like less than 10 lines. Currently now we are like a 33% company in 3 countries. We all have different sub teams. So like sales, marketing, uh, engineering, product, customer success. So all of these folks have their individual OKRs, and then we just bubble it up into like company level OKRs. So basically, I just say 3 bullet points which are most important for this quarter, and that is a hint which people just use to, you know, uh, fine tune their OKRs. But they already know what they're working on. So it's like 2 days process every quarter, and then mid quarter we just do a rating as well, just to double check where we are. But it's more like uh, the plan is useless, but the planning is indispensable, right? So that OKR doc is probably useless. So I don't become a stickler to it. But like writing that down forces you to focus. This is P0, this is P1, this one I can drop.
Okay.
If I don't have enough work, I should talk to somebody. What should we do? Things like those.
It makes a lot of sense. In terms of like your company culture, the community that you're building, I imagine that that also creates a lot of unity and alignment.
Yeah, thankfully, half half the people I know for like 6 plus years. So this is the beauty of like doing it in industry for like 15 years that I have assembled, and more are gonna come. So that way, it doesn't feel like I have left Google or whatnot. Basically, it's a bunch of us friends having fun together. That helps a lot in terms of uh, building the culture. Partly because bunch of us know each other, especially in remote setting. Because remote setting is very bad for like new person. How do they learn through osmosis? Like the amount of learning somebody who will have with someone who is 15 years in the industry, if someone's recently graduated, versus being remote and just reading and talking on this.
And what did you do during the pandemic if for new people? What was the
Yeah,
dynamic?
yeah. So many things we do, which is I followed that in my Google teams. That's why I built like these cult like teams. Many things is one of the most important thing is, while the person will have manager, he should have a direct mentor who is not responsible for performance review, but it's more like just the mentor's job is to make sure the person is successful. It could be like every day for 5 minutes, check, hey, what's any problems ping me, what's going on. Or it could be also like, hey, you want to pitch about your boss, like feel free to pitch to me and I will be happy. Like it will not go back to boss and everybody else. So that's very critical. Then second was we do a weekly deep dive where everybody and anybody picks a topic and gives a tech talk, which gets recorded and saved. So that helps a lot more to distribute knowledge for past learnings, not just adaptive, but also for past things that we have learned. Then third thing was I hold like a monthly AMA sessions per country, so then they can ask me anything, any questions that they have. Uh, Prior to this, we used to have like a monthly updates across all job functions as well, where all the leads would present, so that way everybody knows the monthly progress. Basically, more communication and more channels to communicate is the key in this setting, but also for someone junior, having like one mentor in addition to the manager where they can just talk anything and it will not affect their job. And having that, mental safety is very important.
I love it. I love it. Mental safety being very important. Rakesh, I think we've learned a lot from you today, not just about e-commerce machine learning, but company culture and how to build out a successful company, how to create your own career path. I mean, I think this has been a very interesting, very successful show today here on Dojo Live. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thanks a lot. I had so much fun. Thanks a lot for organizing this again.
No, it's been great. We wish you and Adaptive nothing more than success as you continue to roll out your really cool product. So thank you.
Thank you. Early days.
Thank you. Yes. Stick around for just a minute as we go off air. But before we do, we'd like to tell our viewers what we've got coming up tomorrow.
Yay! Tomorrow we're going to have another show with Irv Lustig, correct, Kim?
Irv Lustig, I think so.
Lustig. Yeah. The topic is going to be about optimization's essential role in the AI revolution. What is optimization and how does it relate to AI and data science? What kinds of applications in optimization used for and what skills are needed to apply it successfully? He is optimization principal at Princeton Consultants. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific.
It's going to be a lot. All right. Join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, join us, Rakesh. All right. See everyone tomorrow. Bye for now.
See y'all. Thank you.